We're on the magnificent Swan 90 Freya, skippered by Joph Carter, and Joph's from Bermuda, and he's going to walk us through the course. Joph, tell us about the start.
Okay, so we've got the start on Friday, 12 o'clock, off of Pillars of Hercules. Obviously, first thing, get clean off the line, try and get towards the shore, get that sort of lift, before you get to Willoughby Bay. We'll be beating up, the breeze is supposed to be a little bit further south than east, so it could be 1 or 2 tacks to get round the top of Green Island. Once we get round Green Island, we'll be looking to crack off a few degrees, probably looking at 100 to, well, we'll see that all depends on the true wind angle, but we're looking to set a either the 0, or if it's a little bit further south, we're looking at a tight kite run. We getting a little bit quicker there, probably into the sort of low teens, mid-teens, for a shoot off to Barbuda. Once we kind of get to Barbuda, it'll really depend on which side of Barbuda we go, will depend on what the weather's looking like out here. A little bit, 100, 200 miles further north. I think it'll be pretty evident by the time you get around the top of Antigua, whether you're going to go under or over. I think the breeze is going to be so far south or so far north that it'll be fairly obvious. So once we kind of get out of the Caribbean, typically you'd expect easterlies, southeasterlies, northeasterlies, but this year it's slightly different, a little later in the season. The sort of first 400 miles of the course is looking fairly light. It's sort of dominated by a big low pressure north of Bermuda, a front sort of sweeping through on sort of Sunday morning. But before we get to that, we've got a big sort of big sort of high subtropical wave thing that not going to be a whole lot of wind. So it's pretty tricky depending how you play it. You can either go east of it. However, I think that's probably not going to be the right way to go. Because the sort of the light patch is kind of moving further east, getting pushed further east as you have the southwesterlies moving in. You can sort of head a little bit further west, pick up some southwesterlies eventually. It's going to be a tricky one to play, and I think you have to look at the forecast daily to sort of figure out where to go.
So Joph, tell us about the weather on the approach to Bermuda.
Okay, so we've got this fairly large low pressure which will be north of Bermuda, and the last sort of 300 miles will be fairly interesting depending on where this low goes. If it moves further south, we could see the strong front come through, and once that's gone through, some fairly strong, well, medium to strong northwest to northerlies, which will favour the faster boats to get in there. The slower boats will then unfortunately have to deal with some northerlies. If it moves further north, we can see some southwesterlies still, but with some nice reaching westerlies for everyone up into the finish. And the finish in Bermuda should be pretty good. People will come through Town Cut, clear St. George's Customs, and then round to the Yacht Club in Hamilton, where I'm sure there'll be plenty of people with plenty of dark and stormies to greet everyone and have a good time.
So just a summary of the course. It's out of Antigua, turn left, go north, but it's a lot more complicated than that, isn't it?
Well, there's only 2 marks. Left at Antigua, leave Antigua to port, leave Bermuda to port, finish.
But there's quite a few transitions to go through to get there.
Yeah, there is. It should be an interesting race, especially with the current weather forecast. So we'll have to wait and see.